from just outside the perimeter of Atlanta, Georgia, where we were missing everyone, but still managed to get it done.
Nice.
Are you calling that getting it done?
Absolutely.
By the way, I
Optimistic
am
Glenn
inside
tonight.
the perimeter.
Weird.
Okay.
Weird, right?
Okay, I will take a happy not laying flat on his back on the psychoanalyst couch for a change.
Good grief. Hello, everyone. It is the 5 Takes podcast, and we are back.
We're back.
Like USA losing to Panama, and now to Canada.
Oh, look, it's the 2018 U.S. men's national team. They're back, baby.
Oh my gosh,
they're back.
Even worse than that, in my opinion.
I don't know what could be worse than losing to Trinidad and Tobago to get into the World Cup.
Thankfully, we're hosting the World Cup this year, or else I'm not so sure this men's national team iteration qualifies, honestly. So I got to see Panama beat us this summer. Took my sister to a match, her first professional soccer match. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. And here we are again. New coach. Same team. Same problems. It's not a knock on Pochettino. I think he's a good enough coach. He's coached at big clubs, hasn't won a lot in PSG, but yeah, should.
He got the most in recent memory out of a Spurs team. Let's be real about that. That's a fucking accomplishment.
Fair enough. And we'll see how you feel when he comes back. That's going to happen.
When he comes back,
he will.
To
what do you want? You want to put the money up? What are the odds right now? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But it is not happening with U.S. men's national team. And I tried to tell everybody who was like just pumped for this signing when it happened, and you could be excited about that. It's fine. But he wasn't going to come in and wave a wand and fix all this. The player pool is what it is. And he is not the level of coach that might be able to wave a wand in the way a Pep could, or someone of that caliber. So
that voice you hear trying to speak is a special guest friend of the pod,
yes,
Amy.
If you are not watching the video version tonight, we have gone to the bench, and Amy is here with us tonight, and Kat is out with horrific lower back pain, which I feel deep in my bones. No pun intended there. So it's Amy
you know
here.
what you should do if you have horrific lower. Wait. You know what you should do if you have horrific lower back pain?
You already want to get to. We're trying to introduce Amy, and now you've just pushed her aside for Mason Mill.
I'm sorry, you don't give me a segue like that and expect me not to jump
Amy,
in there.
I promise we'll let you talk, but let's
Mason Mill is more important.
Everybody's important, but let's go ahead and shout out Mason Mill because it can't be a better segue than that. And Kat, if you're listening to this, get yourself over to Dr. Cohen, Dr. Miner, and get you an appointment. It sounds like you haven't been there in a minute. 404-321-0082, MasonMillCairo.com. They are in Decatur, Georgia, off McConnell Mill Drive, open Tuesdays through Saturdays. Saturday hours being particularly clutch. I expect I will run into Kat at some point this week. Look, even if you do have, genetics are what they are. I have bad genetics, and I will be dealing with back issues in my life. It just is what it is. But I would be way worse off, and despite Kat not being here, she would be way worse off if she didn't take care of herself. So you should too. They're phenomenal. They're really good people, and not just for supporting us, but for taking care of everybody. All right, we've rambled on enough. Amy's here. Hi.
Hey. So, I mean, look.
Yes.
But anybody who is that, no offense, Glenn, but this is the men's national team, okay? So, first of all, hopes should never be so high as to actually result in disappointment, okay? This is rule number one, right?
That's how I approach my life.
Pleasantly surprised, not devastated and disappointed,
yes.
Right? That has been my motto since 2018.
Yes, keep the bar low enough to trip over. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But realistically, we knew that at the end of the day, Greg probably should have gone at the end of the cycle, and you would have had more time to try to get with a manager to really give him a fair shake. And I'm not saying that I've been pleased with what I've seen, but we've seen a lot of Pochettino calling in a lot of different guys, looking at different looks, trying to go into the depth chart, see what really is.
Yeah, his getting to know you process. There. Yes.
And part of what's sacrificed in doing that is some cohesion amongst your starting 11, which is kind of what you're seeing a bit of. You didn't see all those guys get the last several matches together leading into this. You've got more of this rotation happening. And we are spoiled with the U.S. women's national team where you can do that and still seemingly win in ways that just feel like predestined, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the women's national team is predestined in the way that the men's national team is predestined to be Charlie Brown. And you just gotta understand that that's the role.
You're not
That's
wrong.
actually like a great analogy.
You're not
I literally
wrong.
see like the U.S. women's team, like Lucy holding the football and just yanking it out from under the men, no matter how much they, it's just
the women. The women have struggled a little bit. They have little blips, little dips, and then they will get right back on the horse, seemingly no problem. And the men ain't never been on a horse.
And that is psychology. That's mentality. Okay.
Yeah.
That is what you get from a tradition of winning. And look, we had a moment there where we sort of, as the women's national team, struggled a bit.
Yep, last World Cup.
But what I think Emma restored was mentality.
100%.
Was grind your nose to the ground.
And how did she do that?
You're going to will your way to victory.
How did she do this? How did she bring a winning mentality? Because she's a winner. Because she's a damn winner, man. Because all she did at Chelsea was win. But Poch doesn't bring that with him because he hasn't won anything. And with this short amount of time, you kind of need that. And I'm not slamming Poch. I agree with you. He needed more time to make these mistakes, to have this bit of a trial and error process and figuring things out. And he doesn't have that. So it was just a curious move for U.S. men's national team. I would have agreed with that more if he had made it 2 years ago. Right now, you need a winner. You need someone to come in and say, hey guys, so this is winning. Let me introduce you to it. Poch doesn't have that.
But isn't the timing though like half of why you're here though? You have Poch in part because of the timing and who was available at the time.
I know.
And based on that, he's a good hire.
Sure.
I think from everything that I heard. Yeah. Was I the most thrilled? No, but that has more to do with me being very ignorant in the ways of EPL soccer and not caring so much about that than it is knock on Pochettino.
I didn't hate the hire. And I get it. Of the pool of candidates, we're not getting Zinedine Zidane. Of the pool of candidates that were out there, Poch was probably the best. Again,
you weren't getting Klopp. You weren't getting Zinedine Zidane.
A hire like that needed to happen a while ago. U.S. soccer just hasn't set us up for success. And it's just really embarrassing because it's on our home soil and we're going to get grouped. In our own land.
I don't know if I'm quite ready to wave the flag and assume that that's going to happen.
Oh, I'm there.
I haven't seen anything to necessarily disagree with you either.
I'm there.
But I'm not ready to doom them to being grouped yet. Let's be optimistic.
Yeah, I love that. I'm there though.
I don't fault Poch for the last couple of windows bringing in the hodgepodge rosters to get a look and see what he has, right? Mm-hmm. But I also, we can look at all the, if you look at where these players are coming over from now, it's all European soccer. And I think the thing that remains to be the problem for the U.S. men's national team, much like the problem that we have with Atlanta United, is a lack of identity and a fundamental understanding of who they are as a program.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There is, I'm going to go back to that quote I love at the end of Gladiator where what's-her-face says there was an idea that was Rome, make us believe it again, right? There is an idea that is U.S. soccer that's, that physical, high-powered kind of thing that, we saw from Clint Dempsey and the Landon Donovan and their ilks that we've really never gotten back to. And there was, I think, a lot of hope that this current crop of very, very talented individual players
that are playing for big clubs in Europe. Ooh.
Right. They're playing for big clubs in Europe, all of whom have very different playing styles. So you can't expect them to come back for a week and all of a sudden become a cohesive unit.
Yeah. It's
And that is the expectation that people, oh, well, just because you play at Juvie and at Norwich and
Juvie.
at Crystal Palace or
I
whatever,
love you pronounced
that
it.
doesn't mean you
Juvie.
can. Did I say
She said Juvie.
Instead of Juventus, you said Juvie?
Juvie's
That's
great.
great.
Juve,
Juvie.
No,
whatever.
we're going with Juvie. Up the Juvie.
I mean,
Yeah.
and look, Pulisic, and to be fair, Pulisic's been lighting it up this year at Juventus.
Pulisic. This is a pronunciation.
What is
fest.
going on with you?
What has
Tim?
happened?
Okay, I went out to dinner for my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy
I
birthday,
may
Dad.
or may not have had a bottle of wine
Several
and
drinks on
like
bread.
The whole
whatever.
bottle.
Well, that's our cheap dining hack, right? Like seriously, if you want a great, go out, spend the money on a really good steak, bring your own wine and save $80.
There you go.
What we do. It's what we do.
Unless the corkage fee is $80, which is how that's going.
Which, if the corkage fee is $80, you're drinking a $200 bottle of wine for $80.
Yeah.
Just relatively perspective.
Life hacks, y'all. Life hacks.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of hacks, and as kind of, well, I don't even want to say we hacked our way through this game with Cincinnati. I don't think so. I think there is a case to be made here. Number one, this was our best game so far. A draw.
Well, are we going straight into takes?
Yeah, man, I'm going straight into takes. I'm going straight into takes.
Also, can we talk about?
Try and stop
Can we
me.
talk about how much better it was having Saba back on the right side?
That is a take.
And also,
Yep, that's part of number one. Is
Sorry, I'm
like
skipping.
Yeah, 100%. Is like, how were we able to
cool.
do so much more with so much less? That is part of it. Saba is clearly better on the right. Yes?
Yeah. From everything I saw,
Mhm.
the only way to definitively prove it, of course, is to play him there when Miguel Almiron comes back. Maybe play Miggy on the left. I guess there are some people making a case for moving Moranchuk out and moving Miggy in the middle, but I honestly would like to see Saba and Miggy put away from each other on the field.
Yeah, they
seem
occupy
to
the
be
same space. I'd like to see Moranchuk.
creating in the same area. And Moranchuk seemed better today as well.
Playing a little bit more of a 6-ish type role.
I
was better.
I kind of like that experiment. Doug Roberson mentioned it in particular that like in theory, and there was some discussion in the Footy Mob group on the post about like the idea of maybe Moranchuk is meant to be more of that ball moving court, that progression style player up to like a genuine playmaker distributor such as Miggy. So then, and we have a window here, right? We're coming into our in my view, our season make or break window. We should be getting it together, firing on at least 2.5 of three maybe of the 4 cylinders that we have. That's where we should be right now. And we're not dealing with the same kind of opposition. And just in terms of overall, I'm not saying that there's any schlub teams in MLS because thank you parity, thank you salary cap. But these are certainly not the same kind of opponents that we faced the first month of the season, right? We've got New York next week. We've got FC Dallas and we've got New England coming up. Those are your next 3 matches. If we're not taking 7 points out of that, we definitely have some bigger things to be worried about.
But the commonality across all of the key plays of the game for us, right? Mm-hmm. The own goal and everything, right? Mm-hmm. Ran through Saba.
Yeah.
And
you got to have Saba switched on.
Literally the difference.
You got to have him on the right too, though.
Less was he was clearly much happier today. I was surprised how little we saw of Brooks with all of that, but Saba more than made up for it. And Riley seemed to have a lot of understanding really quickly with the group.
Do you want to move to number 3 and talk about Will Riley?
Well, I want to go back to this for 1 second because in a roundabout sort of way, I think we have an opportunity to set it up like that with Muyumba going down, and he'll probably be out for at least a couple of weeks.
Oh my gosh, another injury. Jeez.
They did say it's not a ligament though, is
It's
what
not a
I
ligament, but if
heard.
it's an MC, I mean,
If
it
it's
could
a
have been an MCL.
meniscus
It
or
could be a
MCL, it's 6 weeks.
sprain. So, like I said,
I
so you
know.
have this window where you don't have Miyumba, who had been playing in more of that sixth role and playing very well. Like, I hate this for him.
Yeah, it
He
sucks.
was
He finally comes
like,
good and gets hurt.
I
Sucks.
hate
Yeah.
this for him, but because if he's going to be down for, at least let's say generously at least a couple of weeks, that's a window to put Moranchuk in that role. And I
Yes.
think he can do it and do it better, move Miggy back to the 10. And then I think Amador could step up and play wing if he had to. He certainly did a little bit last year. He loves to push. Why are you looking at me funny eyed like that?
Me? No?
I like
No,
Amador as
Amy
a
was
wing
making
back. I'm
stink eye
not.
at me.
I don't love the idea of removing Amador from the defense all the way up to wing. Wing back is one thing, but I think he brings so much defensively to that position that if you're going to put somebody out on the wing, I would honestly rather see maybe what Togashi, or Togash could do out there. I think we were told not to pronounce the I on the end.
Oh, really? So it's
but
not Togashi? It's just
it's
Togash?
Togash.
Oh,
It's
cool.
Togash.
Okay, Togash.
Yeah.
Cool.
There
Did
was like a
somebody go to the Atlanta
pronunciation-
United pronunciation chart and verify
There
that?
there was like a pronunciation thing that came out. You and I actually talked about it, Jen, but you've forgotten. But it's
No,
all
I know
right.
we did. I thought it was really cool that they did it. They had all the player on one of the. There's a
Yeah.
spot on the Atlanta United website.
You're right.
Where,
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, where
Okay.
where
Yeah.
every player is saying their name, how
Yeah.
it's supposed to be pronounced. So we have no excuse to call anybody a juvie.
Right. Exactly. But my point is just that I think, even if you just continue to let Jande, who didn't look bad,
No, Jande
games,
was fine.
you could totally put him out on the left. I know that didn't go well all of last year, but allegedly it was in part through an injury that we didn't know a lot about. And, who knows, like maybe
We
maybe
have
give it a
depth,
chance. My point is just, I don't think I want Amador up. That was all.
and I get you, but we have options. It's a setup we could try that maybe might be the key to unlocking this chemical mystery that is going on as to why all of this works so well on paper but isn't translating to actual balls and nets.
Everything you guys are.
But let's also optimistically
Yeah.
not lose sight of the fact that we lost 5 center backs to international call-ups, and we still got a point out of this game that
It's
I
great.
didn't expect anything out of.
No, I'm very happy with it. And everything you're saying is like you guys are in good company. Like Josh Kite on the Footy Mob thread is saying that Moranchuk is being more dangerous. Furthers the thinking that he and Miggy both want to play the same position at the same time. True, very true. And Mitchell McGritz that also thinks that Saba belongs on the right side. Yep, it's pretty clearly evident. So we have this issue. And here's my problem, and this kind of sums up the whole number one, and then we can move on, is we like you said, solving the riddle, figuring out the puzzle, right, is what we've been trying to do with our player pool this year. Well, we built the puzzle. I mean, we wrote the riddle. You tell me we can't solve this? This has been a problem with Atlanta, is we have all these great individual players who are extremely talented and very expensive, and yet we can't produce from it. And that's just a curious thing for me when you've got other teams that have less on paper, right? Your Vancouver Shield leading teams of the league and are doing great. And Philadelphia doing great. They don't spend like we spend, but the sum of their parts is apparently better than ours. And I just why are we creating Madison Cruz said it on the Soccer Down Here or on the full-time report on 92.9 of it's the depth that we have at center back at midfield. This is a good problem to have. No, it's not. No problem is good. No, it's not. We no, it's not. This isn't a good problem to have, or else we'd be winning. No, it's not. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. We haven't been able to figure this out until this past match, where we're oh, look, this is working. Like Ronnie said, he thinks that in his post-game presser, he said, well, we have seen the development and players are starting to understand each other motor. The relationships are there. And I'm like, okay, what players are you talking about? We're missing 10.
It's interesting you're saying that though, right? Because one of the things that I was thinking about is what does this feel like? Like if you start to try to put your fingers on what is this thing where it seems like
Yeah.
Miguel and Alexi want to play the same role? And you start to think back in the archives and you say, well, doesn't this feel like when Barco came? And we never quite got to the bottom of them trying to play the same role. Or, like it feels like a problem. It's a familiar problem. And that's why you're saying, I don't know why this doesn't work. Well, it feels like this kind of happens, at least for a period of time, when we have two players who are used to being or wanting to be this kind of creative, cog. And
Well, the answer
maybe,
with Barco was to sit him the fuck down.
well, yeah, but and then when he got to be the guy, it became immediately a problem again with the guy that came behind him, right?
Yeah.
Because we love to do that. Um,
I just think
but
we've created
know,
these good problems.
Well, again,
Yeah.
I am going to go back to new coach, new system.
Pish posh.
I right, because there's no merit in that at all, Glenn. But
Talk
I
to
do
Philadelphia. New coach, new system, doing just fine. Bradley
I don't know
Parnell
that
had
Philly-
a horrible exit from St. Louis. Man, they old yellered him. And he's fine.
But is it really a new system at Philly? How much Philly have you bothered to watch this season?
I'm just saying, like, I don't think they've.
Last I heard, they're still rolling around on the ground just like old times. It's that thing where, remember we talked about how long it was going to take to break the push backward possession mentality that we had here for
All
3
right,
years
Nashville.
under Pineda?
Nashville.
Yeah, but Nashville got their coach in the middle of last season. So he's had
Yes, he's
almost-
had an additional 3 months.
He's had an additional 6 months. He came in May or June of last year. So he's almost been there for a whole year.
Yeah, but he's breaking a mold with Nashville. Like, Nashville has only
I
played a certain way.
100% he is. But and he
And
had
they're
to wait
doing
to
it.
get players in too.
They're doing it.
God damn it. Why are you propping up Logan? Like, you need to
But
just
they
stop.
are. They're doing it.
Yeah,
I
it's so
I'm
frustrating.
not down with the new coach,
But-
new system takes time. I'm not.
But look, I've been thinking about something though, and look, you can say this is an excuse
Sure.
or whatever. The other thing that we have to think about though is that with the expansion of Major League Soccer, schedules are not nearly equivocal amongst any team. Okay, because of the differentiation in talent between the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, which kind of rivalry teams you end up playing and don't. If you end up, and we often get paired up with marquee teams who are going to be better. And so while I may be, showing my SEC football roots, I feel like there should be some strength of schedule analysis done that I never hear talked about in Major League Soccer. And I'm starting to wonder about the further and further we get away from a legitimate supporter shield, kind of everybody plays the same, schedule. Like, I feel like the whole mentality of the EPL where everybody ends up playing, from what I understand, kind of the same schedule. I feel like that has leaked in a way that we just assume that's the case, but it's not been the case in Major League Soccer for quite some time.
And I think that's a very valid point. I just quickly looked up who Philly played, like in the same time frame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
New England,
Philly-
and they're terrible.
New England, they played Cincinnati,
got a
who
draw.
has not been great. Okay. They lost to Nashville.
What? Nashville
and
hasn't played Cincinnati.
No, they played Philly.
Yeah, Philly.
I'm saying, who did Philly play?
Oh.
Philly beat Orlando.
Mhm.
Philly beat Cincy.
Mhm.
Philly beat New England. Philly lost to Nashville, and Philly just barely beat St. Louis.
Yeah. Pretty good.
But that's definitely a different schedule road than what we had.
What do you mean?
So look,
How is that
We
different?
played Miami. We played a rival.
Charlotte isn't. No, I don't think we've had some monumentally more difficult schedule. I don't accept that at all. That's pretty on par
Look,
with what
I'm
Philly's
just-
done, apart
I'm
from
just
Miami.
saying that I feel like it's a conversation I never hear, and I would
True.
love to have just some of that statistical
Yeah, true.
insight into how does that look, just because I think that as you expand more and more, that is going to happen. We're
It
going
will.
to end up, because if we're on par to do NFL, right, there's a big difference between the NFC East and the NFC South. There just is. And a different schedule and a different, mentality and stuff. So like we have a new team that's coming together. What I have been encouraged by though is that it feels like our money was well spent on Latte Lot. And
Yes.
if we can just find the right people to get
Mhm.
him the right kind of service,
Yeah.
he's gonna make the most of his chances. I do hate that Mayumba header hit him right in the back of the heel because it was like
Yeah.
one of those
But
plays. It just feels like happens to us all the time.
he's producing, which is like makes
That's a good segue to number
it
2.
is
He's the
because
third player, right, in Atlanta United history to
correct.
do that, i.e.
So
Joseph, Gigi,
if
now
we
this
could
guy. That's a pretty good record on the
if we
front
could just
office.
get the ball to him more. Clearly, he can do a lot of the work on his own. I mean, that was a difficult goal that he had. The other
Yeah.
ones that he's had, you could say have been easy. I don't think any goal is easy to be honest. Even
I don't
tap
know. He
ins.
Not
got
on this
so
team.
vertical on that goal from Brooks. He got very high.
Yeah,
on the little
he
hill.
makes
But I
it
get what you're
look
saying. That this one was
easy.
more impressive. It felt like
For sure it was
he
because he
really
go gadget
used.
legged it in,
Yeah.
but no goal is easy. Even tap
Yes.
ins,
Go get
you have to be in the right spot, the right time. Like no goals
Absolutely.
are easy. I don't think unless you're trying to score against USA. That's quite easy. I'm gonna
And
keep
when
throwing
he's
shade.
on, he is everywhere. Literally
Yes, he
everywhere.
is our first box to box striker.
Like what the
What even is that?
It's
It's
a new thing.
insane.
It's a brand new thing. I'm a little worried
I'm
about
here
it
for it.
just because, I mean, we're dropping like flies.
We don't want him to be tired.
We're dropping like flies, so just, you know.
Hey, look. Ronnie Dyla in the post-game presser said he was happy because I think we got finally got like 60 minutes full tilt. And they didn't look like
Right.
they were checked out until
Hey,
about minute
man,
66.
we scored a goal pretty soon after
But
a
when we
kickoff in
were
the second
dead,
half.
we were dead.
True.
It really is. There really is. There's something weird with this like energy vampire suck thing that happens somewhere through like
that's been a thing. It's been a thing for
It feels
years.
like
We
it's
get
by
scored on
design.
we get scored on in bunches, 5 minutes apart from
Yeah.
goals, or a weird break and play, or usually after the start of a half, or a reset of play, or a goal that kind of just once we get knocked out of rhythm, it's kind of hard for us to pick that beat up again, and I don't know why. That's a problem, and it happened again today. It did, but fortunately, man, cross the ball in the box. Sometimes good things happen. Sometimes you score. Sometimes it's an own goal.
we
Just
need
cross
we
the
need
line.
more of that, and we need more willingness to just take the shot and throw throw pucks at the fucking net.
Right. Exactly
Honestly,
that.
I feel like we got a little karmic help today too,
For
because
sure.
that no call in the first half on
Well, it was
Alvis Powell goes underneath Latte Lot. I mean, I'm sorry, like I just don't understand.
I was
penalty.
really
I feel like
hoping
karma paid Alvis Powell back, and all was right.
Well,
with
there
the
was
universe.
karma
I was
both
fine with
ways.
that
Both
point.
ways.
Right,
Look,
exactly.
the ball comes off Togash. That's not our throw.
Right.
It's not. But good
Yeah.
heads up play from him. He knows it. And he's like, let me grab this
And
ball real
Saba,
quick.
who's screaming
Yeah.
and screaming and saying, "Get this to
It's
me."
brilliant.
And the kids
Yeah.
were like, "I'm listening today."
It's brilliant. And then look, Cincy gets a deflected goal. So they get a little luck too, kind of make up for that. And then we get an own goal, a little bit of luck there. Like it was bad luck and good luck for both sides in weird ways on this one. So at least some bounces did go our way. I feel like a draw was kind of the fair result, though I agree with Ronnie that the win was there for us to take. So I'm happy that he's not satisfied, but I'm oddly satisfied with this one. I think you can build off of it. Was really happy to see the real next man up mentality in effect. Will Riley, I'm talking about you, son.
Yeah, can we have a minute
Yeah.
for low key man of the matches
Will
because Will Riley was so incredibly and I mean it just he was a grown up.
Yep.
He played like a
Grown-ass man.
grown up. He didn't start no shit, didn't want no shit, but he wasn't afraid to take some shit and dish the shit back out. It was nice.
Yep.
And the thing the most impressive thing that I saw him do was at the very end, at the death of that match, where he was marking Evander. And Evander was clearly looking for a foul call in a very dangerous area that very possibly could have resulted in a hat trick or whatever. And Will Riley had the presence of mind to stay enough away from him, but badger him to the point where ultimately Will Riley got the foul, drew the foul, instead of getting called for the foul in the defensive end in a dangerous spot against one of the best players in the league. That was not a rookie play. That was a match point saving play that kid made.
This is an OG
It's-
Academy kid, by the way,
Yeah.
inaugural Academy, who then played for a while, went off to
Love
college, Stanford, came back,
Yeah.
and has his first start. And shout out to Joe Freihofer for these stats. This is incredible. 55 passes, 85% completion rate, 14 of those passes into the final third, 2 chances created, 8 recoveries, and 4 interceptions, and a partridge in a goddamn pear tree. Holy shit.
Yes.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
It was an excellent
Are you
debut.
serious right now?
From Riley.
And look, all due respect, Maddie and Abe, we disagree with you. Really, Will Riley was man of the match. I understand that you and the press boss, you have to give it to the guy who shows up on score sheets. And I'm not saying Saba did not have a great game.
He did.
Will Riley was absolutely the difference maker in this
So
one.
not even low key for you. Just you would go reverse, maybe.
And you know,
Saba?
and Jason said he was the man of the match, and he was like, "I'm going to go like lobby for it and whatever."
Yeah.
And yeah, like
I actually think Togash is my low-key man of the match.
Togashi, and it is
Good job.
Togashi.
Because
I just looked up on the pronunciation guide.
They
It's
decided
Togashi.
that we do say the I at the end.
That's what he has on the official Atlanta United pronunciation guide, which I'm going to give you a handy dandy link to, where you see the transliterated pronunciation, and it
Love
says
it.
Cayman Togashi
I love
with
it.
the emphasis
You
on the
All right. Well,
first
bottom line
syllable.
is
friend of the pod, Pat King,
bottom line
agrees
is,
with
I
you.
saw a distinct.
Pat King
I saw an
says
energy
Togash as
change.
well
Yeah.
for low key.
Yeah. Definitely saw an energy change.
Mm.
And I appreciated that he did have the presence of mind just to listen to Saba that led to the goal.
And
right.
he's
That heads
scrappy.
up play, aggressive.
He's scrappy.
I
like him.
and he's demonstrated that every game that he's kind of come in. In the preseason, I thought he looked good. He
Definitely.
seems like he wants to make the most of the chances that he's getting, and with TRA hurt, he's getting those opportunities.
True.
So it's
I
nice
don't
to
know
see him
that
taking
TRA
advantage.
though. I don't know that they were able to bring Cayman in for Miyumba when he went down with an
Oh
injury.
yeah, he was in a different position. I'm just saying.
I don't know that you could have brought Jamal TRA into that
No.
same role.
Togash is more
No. Sorry,
flexibility
I'm just
there.
saying normally he'd be, third striker, right?
But
But he has that ability about him to do what he did.
Considered that ability of Togashi to play midfield
Hell
at
yeah.
all, or whatever, which is kind of given the circumstances, that's kind of a big old bonus, right? That he cannot just come in and be a backup striker, but he can come in, he can play offensive midfielder, he can come in and do a little bit of wing work. Like, it's nice to have that depth and that versatility, and I would totally back you up if we were going to make Will Riley man of the match. I absolutely would give low-key man of the match to Cayman on this one, because I think
how he has to come in unexpectedly for Muyumba in a position that he's probably not built for, but does it.
Yeah.
And I think there we need to give Dyla a little bit of credit, right? Because
True.
Coaches always get the wrong end on changes. Clearly that was a good decision and one that none of us saw coming.
Good shout.
And he saw that in Cayman's game, put him in, and he was rewarded for giving the kid, time.
Yeah.
And I think that's been something really nice. And even though I feel bad for Matt Edwards, I hate how that went, but he's not playing a position that he's accustomed to. This is a big, kind of
Matt has been great.
This is strong. Yeah, he's been fantastic. But what I've really appreciated is, from him to, Riley, et cetera today, like you said, you see that next man up, everybody is out there saying, I'm going to play like I'm a starter, whether I am or not.
Play like a starter, not just play with nothing left to lose, energy, chaos. Let me go 2-footed on somebody. Look, Will Riley got a yellow very early on and managed it and didn't drop off, didn't shy away. That's more than just I want to just go out and just buzz around and try to win. No, they look like they belong. Everybody, from Togash to Riley, Edwards as well. Like they look like good problems to have, as Madison Cruz put it. It's good. It's good to have the depth because whatever iteration we have of Atlanta United going forward, we will always have this problem with international call-ups until MLS just hits pause. Like we're gonna have players go off to play for their
Well,
countries.
and hey, I do want to shout out, because this was, as I said to many people across many channels, the best foray into Ohio any March we have had in the better part of 5 years.
True.
I mean, that's true. That's true. We usually go there and it doesn't go
We
well
go there
for
down
us.
7 to 10 roster players and we got our asses handed to us. Whether it's Cincinnati or whether it's Columbus, take your pick.
Right.
It's just, it's never, this is the best result we've had with that kind of roster absence. And, you know, I think it does bode well for the future of this team. That you're not wrong, Glenn. Like, this is stuff we can build on. I think we learned a lot about what could work in different scenarios for this club this past weekend.
Yeah, this is number 5. We can build off this. We'll get back to number 4 in a second, but a point on the road against a tough opponent while missing what we were missing, I think it can be galvanizing. Now, you got to go win your home games now. You just have to.
Yeah,
If we
there's no excuse
if
for
we
it
don't
anymore.
win against New York, this means nothing. It just does. So hopefully this creates some togetherness, and just shows the team like, yeah, I can rely on this guy to my left. I can rely on this guy to my right. Like this is good. I mean, trainers and the med
And right
staff
now, we still
are
really
overloaded, but
very much want to be behind the team, right? That's why you want to win that home game.
yeah.
Because right now, like the fan base is on edge, just ready
Yep.
to jump, 2 feet in. But we're holding back like Georgia fans pre-championship, you know, right now because I feel like we've been slapped around a little bit the last few years.
No, we have
So,
been. And when you go out
you
and
know,
look, I think all the moves we made in the offseason have been excellent. I can't think of better ones. It's good, but it has to come good now, and it hasn't at the start of the season. But this feels like it could be a good turning point to really get on track now. But you got to win both home games. We cannot do hey get by New York and then drop the next one. Like that's not going to be a top 4 finishing team. You got to win both home
No,
games. You just do.
they got it. They got it. They got it. They absolutely got to figure it out. And I do want to bring in another point when we circle back to number 4, where you talk
Well, let's
about
do it
being
now.
critical of
Circle.
Lexi. And
Go on.
okay, so point number 4 is we've been very critical of Alexi. You've been
By
very
we, I
critical.
mean me.
You've been very critical of Alexi. I
Uh,
probably have been a little bit
yes.
too maybe
I've given
not
no
critical enough.
criticism of Alexi.
It's true. You
But-
haven't been here. Are you? I'm curious.
Yeah, where are you
Where
on
are
Camp
you on
Alexi?
Alexi on this
Camp Chuck.
on the spectrum?
So every time that it's come up in my presence, I've had an active debate, I think, including with you, Jennifer, that I feel like the criticism of Alexi is a little bit harsh. I see a lot of I guess, maybe the wheels turning of where he's trying to go. And maybe I'm being too sympathetic that like the problem is that the team should adapt that he should adapt to the team instead of expecting, kind of vice versa. But like, I feel like I've seen a lot of plays where if you actually watch them back and you kind of look at the progression of the play, Alexi is more involved more often than I feel like sometimes he gets credit for because, in fairness, he's not showing up on the stat sheet. He's not getting assists. He's not had a goal contribution. And I do respect your DP is not for decent. Okay. I get that. I do. But I've always felt like for Alexi, it's been more about like he's got to find that connection with the other players around him. And it felt like today, for whatever reason, because the space was there, because it was different
He's
personnel,
playing
like I
deeper.
felt like he found the game more and contributed more
He's
today
playing.
in a way that I
Yeah.
feel like I've seen him trying to do at times during the game, but it
Yeah.
just hasn't worked in the way that Miggy and Saba being inverted
Correct.
doesn't work because love you, Miggy, don't have a right foot, never have. So it doesn't really work to try to fake you out when everybody knows the exact direction that you're going.
Yeah.
Um,
Alexi playing a little bit deeper role and not playing the 10 role. That's partly why I think he was a little more comfortable, looked better. He was more aggressive. That was cool.
Yes, I agree.
I think you'll probably agree with this, that some of the criticism, and I've tried to be objective about him. Yeah, I've got on him a lot because I do think when you are a DP in this league, you have to be able. Yeah, the team's got to figure out how to use you, but you got to bring more too. You just do. You have to have that ability because that's just how this league works. Stupidly, but that's just how it
Mhm.
works. He's probably not used to that level of pressure, perhaps. But do you think some of the maybe more unfair criticism that he gets is that we are comparing him to what we have had in that role in the past, i.e., Tiago, PT, Miggy when he was playing more centrally,
Absolutely.
and we're expecting that level of
Absolutely.
like that type of player. He's not, but that's it's gonna come, and I just think this player was a really curious signing from the jump to go that much different direction this summer. Um, but I get some
Well,
people going, well, he's not this. I'm like, right, he's not. He's not going to be.
so
So we got to figure it out because he's here. He ain't going anywhere
well, so
in the
I,
short
I
term.
wanted to point out a comment that Taylor underscore Malati 36 made on
Ah,
Instagram about the quality of passing in general with the team. But also, I think when you look at our big four and their overall quality of passing, right? Miggy's passing success for the season is 81.5. Alexi's is 83.6. Saba's is 81.6. It ain't Latte's job to pass, so I'm gonna give him a pass. And we're not gonna talk about it. I feel like those numbers are what are you laughing at?
the pass on the pass.
That well
Yeah.
but I, I
Mhm.
I feel like for someone who's supposed to be a playmaking attacking mid, that's pretty low from a stat point. And I went in and I dug a little further and looked at his match log, right? And the best match he had in that stat was against Miami. And I think even you said last week that that was the best match that you'd seen him play, where like things were actually connecting. And we're talking about a pretty big jump where he was passing at 95% accuracy versus anything from like the mid 70s on up to the low
And his
80s.
passing numbers are
That's
low as well. Like we need his foot to be on the
but
ball more if he's
but
going
our
to be
passing percentage as a team across the board is lower
yeah
because of the style of play that we're having.
true
We had much higher across the board. Historically, Atlanta United players, we've been spoiled in seeing 90s and higher
yeah
percentages on
500
passing,
plus
but a lot of it
passes.
is passing the same
A
thing.
lot of that
Where it
back
was
passing
impressive
though
is
and
when you got
lateral. It's not like all those are
right,
progressive passes, so easy to complete
right.
passes. Stat patters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The and there are a few guys in our history that have both had impressive passing and impressive passing accuracy, but then you're talking about Darlington Nagbe, right? And that's sort of like a unique skill set of Nagbe's. But what I'm seeing is that the passing percentage as a team is down across the board, and I think that's because we are supposed to be taking more aggressive passes, more shots in the dark, more bang bang, one touch, two touch. You've even heard it in Williams's, comments after maybe the Miami match or something where he was talking about, we started off doing this and then we got away from it. Like, and to me, that's where I'm saying that I feel like what's going on is Alexi has not quite connected in because while I would accept a lower passing percentage, what I feel like you're observing is that disconnect where I don't actually think the pass that he makes is a bad pass, but it's not where the guy's going, so it doesn't matter that it was a great idea. And that's kind of what I'm seeing is
Well, and I
like,
think, in general, we're seeing, we keep seeing players running into each other and players being confused as to who's taking what ball. If you have
Right.
Latte and Saba who can't decide in a split second who's going to take a sitter, you lose the sitter. Right. So
right.
Hmm.
and again, you can call it Kevin, whatever. We should certainly be and you can certainly say we should be further along in that process of player understanding
Mm-hmm.
than we are,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not invalidating that, but I think that's one area where, if the roles of players get a little bit redefined and shuffled based on, you know, a relatively successful stretch of 2 games here. I think, I don't think we played badly against Miami. I think we got a little bit unlucky. We got, we went to sleep for a minute, and, you had players in positions to clean that last goal up, and we should have walked away from a draw. We didn't. It is what it is. In this instance, karma paid us back a little bit. However you want to slice it, okay, cool. But we can certainly see some marked improvement in terms of the duration of quality play and getting through, almost a complete game, like a complete 90-minute effort. I also don't feel like I'm asking too much of this club to actually play for 90 minutes.
No,
So when
it's
they
not a big
figure that
ask.
out,
Yeah.
So when they figure that out, and they can, I feel like if they can clean up that passing accuracy, which would indicate a better understanding of where everybody is and going to be on the pitch.
And not even just the accuracy. Like, I need key passes. I need that off of Alexi's foot. I need the pass he makes to be the pass.
So do you think he serves
better? I feel like he was involved.
He did this game.
He had the hockey assist on the first.
Yes, that's why I gave him his credit. Like, I'm not above it. It's not personal. For sure. I can be objective, and that's why I said today, I think we did.
Do you feel like he's better suited to a hybrid 6 role?
So it would seem. But we have
at least
a
playing
Bartow
with this
there,
group of guys. At least playing with this group of guys in that role. Right.
So that'll be the curious thing. New York comes to town.
When they come back.
Everybody's back in with our best 11, as it were. And we see the same problems.
It'll be interesting to see what
are we going to do now?
It'll be interesting to see what Dyla decides to do.
Yeah.
What were his takeaways out of this?
Right.
Do we see, Miggy and Saba no longer inverted, or does that continue and we're just all crazy?
The starting 11 next week will answer a lot of those questions. It's going to be...
It will.
It's interesting, but at the same time, just frustrating that we're creating the riddles with the team that we've built. We've created this. This wasn't created for us. We've manufactured our own good problems, and that's really frustrating. And it's been a hallmark of this team for a while now that no coach, no TD has been able to solve as of yet.
I mean, I get what you're saying. It's like in cooking, the more ingredients, kind of maybe the more difficult the recipe. And we've got a lot of ingredients right now.
Our chef would like a word.
That we're trying to balance. And I'm not saying that it's a 1-to-1, that de facto more things means harder. It could be 100 things, but you throw them in a pot and it's, easy.
No.
But I don't feel like that.
You make a very, very interesting analogy there. Like, it really is an interesting analogy, because when you think about like great Italian food for the most part has 5 ingredients. Like, you got
simple.
Like a veg, you seriously, like, it's very simple. It's it's flour, it's an egg, it's a tomato, it's some Parmesan,
Boom.
And it's salt and pepper.
Done.
And it's amazing.
Right. And right now we're like Vietnamese Scottish fusion or something.
Vietnamese
we're like
Scottish fusion. Wow.
To figure out how to
Meanwhile,
make that a thing.
Vancouver's just popping in a microwave dinner and done.
Vancouver is sticking to poutine and saying poutine is
This is it. This is good enough. It's
poutine.
tasty. It's delicious. We're not going to overcomplicate things here. Same thing with Charlotte.
I will say that, Glenn, I feel like everybody discounts Vancouver. Like, low key, Brian White has been very good, and Ryan Gauld. They have both been very good, and I think underrated for the last few years.
I have not discounted Vancouver. I have them number 2 on the MLS table prediction contest. I have San Jose winning it all.
I'm just saying, historically, right? Everybody's like, Vancouver's meh, and I get it. I really do, and they've generally given sort of meh.
No, they're going to be up there.
Back that up. But even when Vancouver is good, nobody cares, and that's
because they're not in that market.
Doesn't mean that they're bad.
Charlotte is good this year. They're going to be up there.
And I say that because I am in an MLS collecting group, and I am here to tell you nobody cares about Vancouver.
Does anybody care about Charlotte?
So come at me, Vancouver supporters. If you think I'm full of shit, come at me.
What about Charlotte, though? Does anybody care about Charlotte? Like Dean Smith, he's a curious one. Charlotte just won 4-1. 4 goals. They've been scoring for fun. Yeah. They've been doing really well. Every single one of Dean Smith's post-game pressers, including the 4-1 win, he's like, it was okay.
Or he's like the angry Mr. Potato Head or something.
He's genuinely
he's
not
like genuinely displeased.
He's not
because if he lets a goal in,
he's not satisfied with a 4-1.
But it's because they let a goal in. Remember, wasn't Charlotte like the number 1 or number 2 on the least goals ever? Like, isn't he basically Gary Smith at Nashville on steroids when it comes to defense?
No,
and that's kind of what you're hearing.
Not that defensive. He's not.
Because obviously not, because he has some offense, but he seems pissed off anytime they let a goal in. Maybe that's always, I don't know.
But are people more vested in Charlotte than they are in Vancouver in like the general MLS sphere? I'm just curious.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I would say yes, absolutely.
Vancouver is some of that removed.
Some of that is that they're a newer team, so you've got that going, right?
True. And they're closer to other big team us and Miami, and they're in the conversation more. And they've got a Premier League coach, and they got good players. They got Zaha,
and the truth is that Vancouver is a Canadian team, and that's not to say that like Toronto fans aren't passionate and Montreal fans aren't passionate. There are handfuls more of those, right, than Vancouver, but it's also just in Canada. Hockey is still bigger, and these things are different. And even in
it's still hockey season.
Yeah, it's always hockey season.
So it's not like they don't care at all, but it's just not
the
number 1 priority.
Yeah, I hear you on that. All right. Did we hit on everything?
And when we're bad, Atlanta is not the number 1 priority for a lot of people too.
Oh,
so
true. We've seen that.
We can't throw too many stones from our adjacent glass house. Like,
so that's that. I think that's everything for this week. What do you?
Are you really going to go through this entire thing? And I get it. I get that he's just been so predictably good that it's become boring. But the Gazanaissance continues. Even though he gave up 2 goals, don't you feel like there were 4 there for them?
Oh, I don't think we're just...
I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying I'd never...
You just want another opportunity to prove why you're Guzan's biggest stan.
It's true. It's true.
No, we talk about Goose a lot. He's been the one player that hasn't experienced much of a drop-off.
He doesn't get talked about because there's no need to talk about him. I just want to make sure that I didn't
go a whole podcast without saying anything about him.
Heard.
He's come in and he's done his job. And actually, the next time I get the opportunity to run into him, I want to ask him like, where the heck was this in 2019?
Also, Goose has depending on your point of view, the worst or the best posterized looks. Like when he misses a goal, like it's very dramatic. Like, it's.
Yeah, he was full blown like pre-Gazanaissance, Guzan on that when he would like take penalty kicks, and I don't know, like at least 60% of the time he'd just end up falling backwards dramatically. Cool. And that was like
look. There's nothing.
I'm sorry, I love you, Brad. I really, really do. But that was your.
I also
your
get
marquee
it though.
Stance.
There's nothing he can do on that goal. He's going one direction. It deflects. But
it's the worst because he's 100% actually on that. He's going to block that until it gets deflected.
Yes.
And that's what's so dramatic about it is he is so committed that he can't. He literally is just like, well. Okay, well, shit, I'm just going to sit down. Like, there's just no point. Like, literally, you see him reacting in midair as he's missing.
He dies a slow death.
You can't fault him for it. Yes, it's in slow motion.
We love you, guys.
I've been in that position. I played goalkeeper. I've been in that position and done exactly that.
Yeah, Goose, keep doing what you're doing. Awful. Keep defying Father Time. If it's the trips down to wherever the magic fountain of youth is in
take me with
Puerto
you.
Rico or like whatever you're doing, don't stop. We're all good here. Everybody's happy. That's why we're not talking about it.
All right.
100%. We don't poke the bear, Amy. We don't talk about Bruno.
I do think
okay, my bad.
I do think we have talked about everything else though. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks y'all for listening.
Look at us.
Yeah, we did it.
That was
under an hour.
Efficient.
Fantastic. We're getting it done.
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all. We appreciate it as always. Thank you very much for listening. If you wouldn't mind,
Oh, hey,
I'll
yeah,
get to it. I got my notes. I know you think I
I
won't.
got
You
you.
think I'm gonna forget things. I won't. Just give me a chance. But yeah, hit all the buttons, like, subscribe, share it, and all that stuff. We got cool stuff coming up, including a now what will be two-part episode with Decatur FC. First episode, it's gonna drop sometime late April. It's gonna feature Gareth O'Sullivan, the owner, and the general manager Joel Gold, and they will talk a little bit about the genesis of all this, how they came to be involved, their view on the women's game right now, the progression, and the importance of supporting it. And speaking of supporting it, Jennifer, how can one go about supporting Decatur FC?
Well, I know that there are some fun things being cooked up to bring more of the supporter presence to Decatur FC. But the biggest thing that you can do, season tickets are on sale, y'all. They're so reasonable.
Very.
Like they're so reasonable. This is a great, inexpensive night out,
One
to do
dim sum
something
dinner.
fun.
That's it.
It's not
Not
even
even
a
that.
dim sum dinner. You can get tickets for $20.
It's very cheap.
Like it's so
And very, even
affordable.
more affordable if you're in a supporters group.
Yeah, you get a disc if you're a supporter group member, you can get a discount. Like the VIP seats, which is a preferred seating area, that is $60. Okay. General admissions is $50. Supporter group members get a discount and you get a
And
t-shirt.
these are season
It's
tickets,
50
y'all.
bucks.
Like,
These are season tickets. I think it's 5 matches. They have 5 home matches. They play Friday nights at Decatur High School. Super convenient on MARTA.
right there.
Obviously, lots of fun places to go hang pre-post. I know some of that's all coming.
Yep.
Youth season tickets are $20. Go out, catch a great, and look, you're gonna see high quality football,
Indeed.
right? You're going to see a lot of star college players. A lot of women that are, working towards different parts of their career. And the women's game's got the professional women's game in this state has to start somewhere.
Let it
And
start here.
Decatur FC is not the only women's professional team in town. There's 4 other women's clubs. So if you're not close to Decatur FC, consider supporting the Georgia Fire up in Gwinnett, or there's the one up in Canton that I can't think of the Impact. Is it Georgia Impact FC? That's up in Canton. That's up in Canton. If you're more northwest side, there's a lot of opportunity to support professional women's sports in this town that's affordable and reasonable, and you should make the investment of your time. I know I won't necessarily get to all the Decatur FC matches, but they will be getting financial support from me.
Love it.
Because we are never going to get better and the better quality sides that I think the city can support if we're not putting our money where our mouths are.
Yep.
We can talk about wanting women's teams all we want, but we got to actually show up for them.
Well said. So that first episode is going to drop like April 20th or 21st. That is with the owner and the general manager. And then we will have a second episode with Coach Chapman and a player or two. And we're hoping to bring on some of our younger footy members out there to ask questions of Coach Chapman and some players, because we think it is important to support the things that we love and to be a part of growing it. We can't just be passengers on that. And that episode, part 2, will drop maybe around May 18th or 19th, right before the start of the season. So those are the things we've got cooking with Decatur FC, and much love to that whole organization for caring and reaching out. It's not just our show too. They've been on SDH quite a bit as well. So these are people that really care about the game as much as we do, and we are just trying to be reciprocal in that. It's an important thing to do. If you love something, you got to be a part of it.
And we talk about it all the time, but soccer's family, right? Like we are all part of this, pulsating, breathing entity that, okay, it's a game that unites us, but it is, we're lucky because I think so many of us just, our paths wouldn't have crossed if this thing didn't exist. So to create more spaces for people to find whatever it is that they need from this world, and it's not necessarily a sport, but sometimes you need something to put you in the place that the universe needs you to be. I'm all for more of that.
Yep. Amy, anything?
Yeah, I think you guys covered it.
Okay.
That was excellent. No, I'm all for it. I love the enthusiasm for supporting
Cool.
all things women's sports and local sports and everything else.
Yeah, it's
So,
feel good, and it's
yeah.
cool to be a part of
And
something and watch it grow and know that you had some involvement in it. You played a role.
and I yeah, and I 100% agree with you, Jen. We talk all the time about the fact that like we wouldn't know each other but for this.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there you go. And that's a really special thing, especially because, community, the older you get, becomes so hard. And so to have
Mm.
something that's so easy and organic and
Mm.
that, everybody can come and be a part of is really unique, I think, and special.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm grateful for it. So
All right,
with that,
both these girls are ganging up on me now, trying to get me to cry. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's not happening. It might happen if
it's
we
all
keep
right.
going, but we're not gonna keep going. That's gonna wrap it up. Thanks y'all. I really appreciate it. All the support for us and Fan TV and for participating in the MLS table prediction contest. Really appreciate that. We had like 30 people on that, so that's cool. I'll be updating the results on that periodically throughout the year. Everybody can see where they're at, so really appreciate that. And Mason Mill appreciates you. It's all appreciated, and thank you very much for what we know will be a lot of support for Decatur FC and for being part of growing this thing that we love. That's really cool. All right, y'all. We will be back in a week's time to talk about a win, a home win against New York City. Correct?
Yes. Let's go.
All right,
Let's fucking go.
all right. She's speaking it into existence. All right, then we'll be back in a week's time. Till then, y'all be good. We will be back.
Meow, 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 meow. Would it help if I did the dance?
Wow.
That's for you, Kat. Get better.
The
No, even if you can't feel better.
Bye.
Pink Kitty Club for Cat. All
No,
right.
we've already decided that song needs to be banned from the stadium during Miami matches.
For the record, I voted for something different this